September 2017. A respected and successful psychiatrist meets a young, beautiful, and alluring blonde on an adult website. They quickly get to know each other and start what seems to be a mutually beneficial and fun relationship. However, what happens next turns into one of the most shocking and brutal cases of the last decade. This is the case of Kelsey Turner and Dr. Thomas Burchard. Dr. Thomas Burchard grew up in Boston, where his father was a professor of architecture at Harvard. The family later moved to Virginia when his father became the founding dean of Virginia Tech's College of Architecture and Urban Studies. After medical school, Burchard realized his passion for child psychiatry and completed residencies at top hospitals such as Cincinnati Children's, Massachusetts General, and UCLA. He eventually settled at the Community Hospital of the Monterey Peninsula in Salinas, California. Burchard loved working with kids, even though he had none of his own. He delighted them with magic tricks, being a member of Los Angeles' Magic Castle, an exclusive club for professional illusionists. Known for his extraordinary generosity, Burchard lived frugally, but spent lavishly on others. His appearance, round glasses, white beard, and a jolly smile, made him resemble a medical Santa Claus, a role he embraced with his giving nature. His acts of kindness extended beyond his patients, frequently helping those in need, especially single mothers on the verge of homelessness or women struggling with addiction. He had a reputation in Monterey for offering support to troubled women, driven by a desire to help them turn their lives around. Burchard and Earp met in the early 2000s during a group trip to Las Vegas, introduced through mutual friends. The pair, neither of whom drank or gambled, spent their time attending shows and talking by the pool. Earp, 12 years younger and a mother of 4, eventually moved to Salinas to be with him. They built a life together on his country property in Salinas, surrounded by his vast book and DVD collections, along with goats, horses, donkeys, mini pigs, and chickens. They also raised Earp's 3 children, whom Dr. Burchard considered his own, setting an example for them and providing the best possible conditions in which they could grow up. It was this generosity and kindness that led him to meet a beautiful blonde girl named Kelsey Turner in the fall of 2017 on an adult website. They wasted no time and quickly got to know each other through messages, as Dr. Burchard soon realized that Kelsey was in a very difficult situation. Kelsey Turner, born on May 5, 1993, in Norfolk, Virginia, spent her early years in Jonesboro, Arkansas, where she graduated from Nettleton High School. She briefly attended Arkansas State University before moving to California to pursue a modeling career. Turner gained some recognition as a model, landing appearances in magazines such as Maximan, Playboy Italia. Her looks and media exposure helped her secure a presence in the modeling world, although she never reached widespread fame. She described herself as impulsive and a Russian-American blonde just trying to change the world. Extremely active on social media under the pseudonym Bad Barbie, she was looking for various ways to express herself and make money. At the time of her acquaintance with Dr. Burchard, Kelsey was in an extremely poor financial and mental state. She had 2 children, although it was unclear whether both were living with her at that time. Dr. Burchard's wife, Judy Earp, was aware of Kelsey Turner's existence, and this was not the first time the doctor had communicated with other women and helped them financially online. This was somewhat of a muse and hobby for him, according to his words, and his relationships with the women he helped were merely friendly and often only online. Earp, unlike Dr. Burchard's previous wife, had no issues with his cause. In fact, she even supported him, seeing that it was something that truly made him feel useful and fulfilled. But none of these other women consumed Burchard's attention or bank account quite like Turner, whom Earp calls dangerously insane. As Earp understood it, Turner had 2 small children and nowhere to live. She couldn't qualify for a lease on a house, so Burchard offered to sign one for her, then ended up paying her rent entirely. He also signed a loan for a BMW convertible and ended up making the payments on that too. After months of financial support, Burchard decided to stop assisting Turner. Although the two women had never met, there was clear animosity between them. Earp had been urging him to cut ties with Turner. Turner was aware of Earp's influence and even once messaged Burchard, saying his girlfriend was on her bad side and that if she caused her to be evicted, there would be severe consequences. In the end, Kelsey was kicked out of the house in Salinas and decided to move to a place with more opportunities. At the end of 2018, she decided to live in Las Vegas with one of her sons. Despite everything that had happened before, Dr. Burchard decided to help the blonde by buying her a ticket to Vegas, giving her money, and also renting a house for her and her son with a rent of $3,200. As you can see in these pictures, the house looked amazing. It had its own pool, a pool table, and 4 large bedrooms. However, Kelsey did not live there with her son only. On the second floor, she shared the master bedroom with her 27-year-old boyfriend, John Logan Kennison. Her son's bedroom was also on the second floor, along with her roommate, Diana Pina's room. Another roommate, Jeremy Esherick, slept downstairs. The lies didn't stop, nor did Kelsey's greed for more and more money, which led Dr. Burchard to decide to completely cut off financial support around the end of February 2019. When he informed the model of his decision, she tried to convince him otherwise in every possible way, but with almost no success. However, almost wasn't enough in this case. Dr. Burchard bought a ticket to Vegas for March 1st, which was a shock for his wife Judy, who believed everything between her husband and the alluring blonde was over. To her, everything about Kelsey was a lie, and she had a very bad feeling about it. The months leading up to the trip were not easy for Burchard. For weeks, Kelsey Turner blackmailed and threatened him, claiming she would release information proving that he had inappropriate photos of young children on his phone and had exploited minors. Although this was entirely fabricated by Kelsey's imagination, Dr. Burchard felt ashamed and scared of the consequences such accusations could have on his reputation. He didn't dare go to the police. Nevertheless, the main reason for Dr. Burchard's trip was his concern for Kelsey's 4-year-old son. A week before, in yet another attempt to get money from him, she told him that her son was very sick and urgently needed money for his treatment. He refused, but Thomas's empathetic nature and his desire to help, especially children, wouldn't let him rest, and he decided to give Turner one last chance. Shortly after landing in Las Vegas, Dr. Burchard called Judy, reassuring her that he had traveled well, but he was slightly worried about meeting Kelsey. Judy, in turn, also had her concerns because, although she supported Thomas in everything, she had particular feelings about Kelsey and believed she was completely taking advantage of her husband. In the last few years, Dr. Burchard's health had also deteriorated, and on several occasions he displayed typical symptoms of dementia. He had gotten lost in the parking lot of a supermarket he usually frequented. Once he failed to recognize Judy Earp's daughter when he ran into her at a supermarket. He also forgot how to use the TV remote. According to Judy, Dr. Burchard was extremely naive and trusting, and he usually carried $1,000 in cash in his wallet, along with a small black book where he had written down all his passwords. Upon arriving at Kelsey Turner's 2-story house at 7474 Puritan Avenue, Dr. Burchard called Judy, assuring her that everything was fine, which calmed her down. They continued to communicate on March 2nd through calls and text messages, but on March 3rd, something changed in Dr. Burchard's behavior. He refused to talk on the phone and couldn't explain why. His writing style was also unusual. According to Judy, he made too many spelling and punctuation errors, which raised a red flag for her. On March 3rd, around noon, she sent him a message that read, "Why aren't you picking up the phone?" To which he replied, "I'm out to lunch." She then sent, "Why can't you talk on the phone? Being at lunch never stopped you from being on the phone before." His response was, "I'm turning my phone off. I will charge my phone and call you shortly." The phone never turned back on, and Judy spent the rest of the day sending him messages pleading for him to get in touch with her. On March 4th, 2019, after Dr. Burchard failed to board his return flight to California, she called the police and reported him missing, explaining her theory that something very bad had happened to her husband on March 3rd, and that he had not had his phone. Someone else had tried to impersonate him, buying time to cover up what they had done. On March 6th, police officers went to Kelsey's home to check on the situation, but they found almost nothing and received no response from inside. This was enough to issue a search warrant, and on March 8th, they finally managed to enter the house and conduct a thorough search along with a forensics team. The house was empty, but there were traces confirming the worst. Judy Earp's theory. There were traces of blood in the second-floor bedroom, on the broken door, in the kitchen, in the garage, and even on the TV remote. An investigation began. Day prior, on the morning of March 7th, a 911 caller reported that he'd seen a blue Mercedes-Benz coupe abandoned on a dirt road 2 miles off the highway, close to the popular Lake Mead National Recreation Area, and about 20 miles northeast of the Las Vegas Strip. When officers approached the vehicle, they noticed both windows were rolled down. Inside, they found blue latex gloves and signs of a small fire in the passenger seat. Blood was visible on the back seat and on the driver's headrest. After starting the car by pressing the ignition button, they opened the trunk. Inside, they found clothes and bedding, which emitted a strong odor. After moving all the objects aside, they came upon a horrifying and heartbreaking sight: the lifeless body of Dr. Thomas Burchard. An autopsy the next day revealed Burchard had died from blunt force trauma to the head. The images revealed extensive bruises, cuts, and scrapes covering his face, neck, arms, and upper chest, with a portion of his ear missing. According to a report issued by the medical examiner's office, Dr. Burchard passed away early on March 3rd, which was consistent with everyone's suspicions. A few days later, his mobile phone was discovered abandoned near the Las Vegas Strip after a homeless individual found it, turned it on, and began answering calls from Judy and Burchard's concerned friends. On the other hand, Kelsey's phone records indicated she was quite active in the days following the murder. The location data confirmed she was at her home from March 1st to March 6th. Then, around 5:20 p.m. on March 6th, she seemed to have left her house and never returned. At one point, her phone showed activity near Lake Mead, where Burchard's body was discovered the following day, March 7th. After news of the body surfaced, her phone was turned off and never used again. When the police interviewed Jeremy Esherick again, the only person living at 7474 Puritan Avenue who hadn't disappeared, they learned some key details. Jeremy's girlfriend, Kelsey, had spoken with Kelsey after the murder. Kelsey contacted her on March 6th about a broken door upstairs, leading to a strange conversation. Normally, Kelsey and Chelsea didn't get along, but that day, Kelsey was surprisingly polite. She apologized for the trouble and even offered to let them use Dr. Burchard's credit card to buy a new door, saying the card number was written down in the house and that he wouldn't mind. It seemed clever, but Jeremy didn't trust her and told Chelsea, "I don't use anyone's information to make purchases. Even if they say it's fine, I don't know if that's really legal." But anyway, good for you, Jeremy. With all the evidence piling up, police were confident Kelsey was involved in Dr. Burchard's murder, but they weren't sure if she acted alone or if Diana and Logan were part of it too. Given Kelsey's small frame, they doubted she could have caused the serious injuries found on Burchard's body or moved him from the back seat to the trunk of the car. But there was another potential suspect. The baseball bat found in the trunk had the name Greg Haggio on it. Greg was one of Kelsey's many ex-boyfriends from California, opening a new line of investigation. However, Greg quickly dispelled any speculation by providing a solid alibi. From that moment on, all the leads returned to the original trio, which turned out to be a wise decision since a new witness was about to be uncovered. While officials continued to search Kelsey's home, a white van was seen driving around the neighborhood multiple times. When the driver was questioned, he revealed that he owned a cleaning company that had serviced Kelsey's house just a few days earlier, on March 6th. He said he was waiting for Kelsey to return because she had lied to him about the bill. When police asked what he had cleaned, he confessed that he had removed some red stains he was told were spilled wine. This statement, along with everything else the investigators found, was enough to obtain an arrest warrant for Kelsey. Fortunately, the search didn't last long because the FBI found and arrested her exactly a week later, on March 21st. It turned out she hadn't escaped the country. She had been hiding unnoticed in California with her son after her name appeared in the headlines. Based on testimony from both roommates, tensions escalated on March 2nd when Escherik's girlfriend arrived at the house, reportedly intoxicated, and started talking to Burchard. Turner was visibly upset by this interaction, growing even more furious when Burchard and the woman decided to leave for the store together. She allegedly lashed out at Escherik, accusing his girlfriend, who was also young and blonde, of trying to steal Burchard away. When the pair returned, Escherik and his girlfriend quickly departed in a taxi. Later that evening, Turner became agitated again after discovering text messages between Burchard and her mother on his phone. She reportedly found what the grand jury agreed were explicit photos, prompting her to threaten Burchard with getting him fired. Burchard, now alarmed, locked himself in her son's bedroom upstairs, slamming the door. According to Pina, events unfolded rapidly. She had only known Turner briefly and was staying in the home rent-free, helping out as a part-time nanny for Turner's young son. At 30 years old, Pina was slightly older than Turner and Kennison and worked nights as a bartender at Caesar's Palace. Suddenly, she found herself witnessing Turner's boyfriend break down the bedroom door with a baseball bat. When Pina rushed into the room moments later, she saw Burchard with a large bruise on his temple. She took the bat from Kennison, who then left the room with Turner. Burchard needed medical attention, so he made his way downstairs to the garage, got into the back seat of Turner's car, and waited with Pina for someone to take him to the hospital. He didn't want to cause problems for Turner, and said he would claim he had been mugged if anyone at the hospital asked. However, as time passed and Turner and Kennison stayed inside, Burchard grew increasingly fearful that Turner might actually kill him, according to Pina's testimony. When Turner eventually came out to the garage, she instructed Pina to go upstairs and start cleaning. There were dirty clothes everywhere, and blood from the fight had stained the bed. Turner reassured Burchard that she would take him to the hospital in a little while once everything was cleaned up, Pina testified. However, Burchard refused to re-enter the house. At that moment, Pina overheard Turner shouting at Kennison to knock Thomas out. By the time Pina returned downstairs to intervene, Turner told her it was too late. She then saw Kennison leaving the garage, covered in blood and holding a gun. Panicked and overwhelmed, Pina started crying. "I didn't know what else to do, so I just began cleaning," she said during her testimony. Eventually, they were all arrested. Turner was apprehended weeks later by a fugitive task force in Stockton, California. In mid-April, Pina turned herself into Las Vegas authorities, and with the assistance of her lawyer, she revealed everything she knew to the police. Kennison was arrested a few days afterward. While Turner and Kennison both pleaded not guilty to charges of murder, including a Category A felony for murder involving a deadly weapon and a victim over 60, Pina accepted a plea deal, admitting guilt to a lesser charge of being an accessory to murder. In early June, they all appeared together in a downtown Vegas courtroom for procedural hearings alongside other inmates. Turner sat waiting, occasionally pouting her lips and pulling her blonde hair to one side. Her oversized prison uniform concealed the pregnancy that had been discovered following her arrest. "She's under a great deal of stress," her lawyer Smith explained, citing her pregnancy and the unpleasant conditions of her confinement. Smith didn't know her exact due date, but Turner has since given birth to a daughter. Kennison remained stoic, looking around the courtroom casually. During an earlier hearing, he had been scolded for displaying a note that read, "Love you, Lil Mama," while talking to a judge. Shortly after Turner's arrest, the case gained international media attention, largely due to the captivating story of a beautiful woman accused of killing a doctor described as saintly and beloved. Judy Earp told reporters that she estimated he had spent around $300,000 on Turner's expenses, though later she admitted that was a conservative figure. She had stopped counting. Kelsey Turner's trial lasted 3 years. In July 2022, in the wake of Kennison pleading guilty, she agreed to accept an Alford guilty plea. On November 9, 2022, she signed the plea deal, despite maintaining her innocence. On January 10, 2023, she was sentenced to 10 to 25 years in prison. Kennison pleaded guilty in June 2022 to second-degree murder with a deadly weapon and conspiracy to commit murder. He was sentenced to 18 to 45 years for his role in the murder. Diana Nicole Pina pleaded guilty to being an accessory to murder and provided prosecutors with critical evidence. She was sentenced to 3 years probation. Turner is currently serving her sentence at the Florence McClure Women's Correctional Center in Nevada, but it appears she continues to seek attention and financial support from wealthy men through Instagram and various dating sites. In all of her profiles, she includes the prison's address, inviting affluent men to visit her or send her gifts. We at Artificial Investigation extend our deepest condolences to Judy Earp and all the close friends and family of Dr. Thomas Burchard. Sadly, exceptionally kind people sometimes encounter heartless monsters disguised by nothing more than an attractive exterior. And when you try to stand in the way of such individuals, the outcome is often cruel.